Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the AU Finance Small Finance Bank Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Aseem Pant, Vice President, Investor Relations, AU Small Finance Bank. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rutuja. Good day to everyone, and welcome to AU Bank's earnings call for the second quarter of FY22. We thank you all for joining the call today, and we hope you and your dear ones are safe and well. For approximately the first 25 to 30 minutes of the call, we will have few brief remarks by few members of our senior management, followed by 30 to 45 minutes of Q&A. Firstly, we will have our MD and CEO, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, share his thoughts on the performance and overall outlook for the bank. He will be followed by our ED, Mr. Uttam Tibrewal, who will share his narrative on the business outlook and asset strategy. Mr. Vivek Tripathi, Head of Commercial Banking, will discuss asset quality for the bank. And finally, Mr. Rishi Dhariwal, Group Head of Branch Banking, will discuss liabilities and branch banking. Besides them and the IR team, we also have few other members of our senior management to answer any other questions you might have. For the benefit of everyone, we would humbly request that the number of questions per participant be restricted to a maximum of 2, and to join back in the queue or mail us in case you have any further questions. With that, I'll request our MD and CEO, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, to share his thoughts on the bank's performance and outlook.
Yeah. Thank you, Aseem. Good morning, everyone. Namaskar. Thank you for joining. We hope that you and your dear ones are doing well and keeping safe. Let me start on an encouraging note that last quarter was one of the most healthy, happy, and hopeful quarters in the series of last 6 around the pandemic. It was promising and action-oriented. The economy, both micro and macro, capital markets, liquidity, vaccination drive, drop in the active COVID cases, business continuity, confidence, hopefulness, entrepreneurship, everything kept the whole environment very, very upbeat. This time, the energy was vibrant and the feel was very high, which we haven't seen in the last 2-3 years. People are now coming out and looking forward to rebuilding themselves and their businesses. We could see a lot of progressive approach in every aspect. Demand across businesses looks strong, especially in the wheels and home loans. Businesses have also started looking for capacity expansions, and a good festive season should further boost sentiments. Government expenditure and infrastructure contracts will also boost downstream demand as local level contractors and subcontractors start looking for bank guarantees and funding facilities. Similarly, the green shoots are visible in metals and mining, pharma and biotech, as well as agri-processing projects, which is expected to boost demand for smaller MSME suppliers and retailers. Barring any severe lockdowns, we hope to have a better demand visibility in next couple of quarters. We as a bank have capitalized on the opportunities offered in last quarter. It begins from improving the asset quality significantly by achieving NPA reduction from 4.3% to 3.2%, that too without any write-offs. The collection efficiency trends seen in June 21 continued in Q2 as well, leading to a higher than expected asset quality performance. To further strengthen the balance sheet, we have used the provision released due to reduction in GNPA to buffer up the contingency provisions amounting to 110 crores. We stood beside our customer with a solution-focused approach and provided necessary support after understanding each customer's business situation. We appreciate the customer's intention to pay us as the normalcy returned, and would also like to acknowledge the phenomenal dedication and commitment displayed by our team as well. Other data points also demonstrate similar trends. During quarter 2, we grew deposits by 45% year-on-year, reduced our cost of funds by 89 basis points year-on-year, CASA ratio touched 30%. The disbursement increased by 57% and AUM by 25% on a year-on basis, and the yield on AUM was 13.7. The growth in every asset vertical has achieved our desired expectations. Our balance sheet size grew by 21%, and net worth grew by 38% year-on-year. And our capital adequacy is at around 22%, very comfortable. Our liquidity position continues to be quite strong with LCR ratio of 151% during the quarter. HR hiring, distribution, and franchise building all remain in line. Close to 3,000 employees joined us in this quarter. We have launched 53 new branches in this quarter. We are now serving 21 lakh plus customers as the largest small finance bank and are offering over 30 plus products at 800 plus banking touchpoints across 15 states and 2 union territories with a team of 23,000 plus employees. We continue to believe that India is at the cusp of digital revolution in banking, and to be relevant in the coming years, the bank is investing in building advanced tech capabilities. Our digital outlook remains progressive, whether it's our super app 0101, video banking, our payment channels through UPI, credit card, POS, QR code. With more than 6 lakhs pre-approved offers already extended, we are using advanced analytics to deepen our relationship with the customers based on hyper-personalization of offers. All cylinders are firing, and I personally believe that if an Indian economy remains north of 7% for the next few years, then all these properties will give us a lot of support for building the largest retail franchise of this country. Further in this quarter, we launched our first mega campaign, Badlaav Humse Hai, and we are witnessing amazing results such higher brand recall value, leading to increased footfall in the branches, increase in engagement of digital properties, whether it's website or app registration. The energy of our team has accelerated the momentum. We remain very excited in how we are progressing on our journey to be a tech-led bank. Even as we continue to invest in people, new products, digital ecosystem, and brand building to become a strong and sustainable bank of the future, our ROA and ROE for the half year stood at 1.8 and 14.5 respectively, which is a reflection of our strong and differentiated business model. As we all know that we are building a unique formal Robin Hood model by garnering deposits from urban markets and disbursing in core markets. 74% of our liability comes from urban markets and 65% of our lending happens in core market. Our purpose of being an SFB guides us and drives us every day. Continuing our legacy, we have exceeded the requirement of key licensing guidelines with 86% loans to priority sector, 63% loans with ticket size less than 25 lakh, and 30% of touch point present at unbanked rural centers. The inclusion of the trader segment under MSME classification ensures continuous flow of credit to them at competitive price by retaining their PSL status with the bank. I'm really thankful to government for this. Our commitment to financial and digital inclusion remains unwavering. As we move forward, I also welcome Deloitte and JM Kapadia as our new statutory auditors after 8 years of distinguished service by SR Botley. We are very thankful to their team. I would also like to conclude by saying that our strategy is well defined and well executed, and it has been developed over the last 2 decades. As of now, we are focusing on 4 projects: Wheel, SBL, Home Loan, and Commercial Banking. The entire team is well stretched and has good vintage. In terms of our liability strategy, we are focusing on to raise low-cost, stable money. For that, we are developing all the means in terms of product, processes, people, payments, digital, brand, distribution, and building trust since the start of the bank. We are working on all those things with a lot of focus, and it continues to remain our prime job. We are very happy that our inputs will get us to the desired results. As we speak today, we are gearing up for the festive season. Last quarter was better than the previous one, and we hope that coming months will be better both in terms of lives and livelihood. We still choose to remain optimistic, but with a lot of cautious approach. It has been wonderful 4.5 years. However, we are still new in this journey of building the bank and may take some more time to understand every dimension of the banking platform. As promised last time, we continue working towards our communication, and I just want to ensure everyone that we are adhering to the gold standards in the governance and the compliance, and we'll keep improving there. So thank you so much. Wish you all a very happy Diwali and festive season. And I also really want to thank the regulators and the government to handle this whole situation so well that there is more hope for the coming years. Thank you so much. Handing over to Uttam for business outlook and assets.
Thank you, Sanjay. Namaskar. Good morning, everyone. I hope all of you are safe and healthy. Last quarter was one of detailing hard work, activity, and excitement. The team had to do a fine balance between managing customers, ensuring collections, and asset quality, while also focusing on growth and competition. I'm happy to report that with our on-ground connect and support from our customers, our disbursements for the quarter was at rupees 5,135 crores, up by 57% year-on-year. While our GNPA reduced by 115 basis points over last quarter to 3.16% as on 30th September 21. The improvement in customer cash flows, availability of legal recourses, and empowerment to take decisions on the ground allowed us to see resolution of more than 37% of the gross NPA pool in one single quarter. Despite rapid fall in COVID cases across India, some customers were indecisive on with positive wave on horizon. However, businesses are now more positive about future outlook with customer footfall reaching pre-COVID levels. With ongoing festive season, we expect even stronger loan demand in the coming months. In the most impacted segment during COVID pandemic like commercial passengers, tourism and travel, education, hospitality, etc., have started to open up and showing signs of revival. Domestic tourism is almost formalized, while schools and colleges are opening in a phased manner. I remain enthused around the opportunity of our all asset businesses in the post-pandemic world, and I'm happy to share some key insights and updates on each of our 5 key priority businesses. First of all, our Wheels business. In the quarter gone by, Wheels team used their collective experience to produce a fantastic results on the collection front, leading to 160 basis points reductions in GNPA within one quarter, taking our GNPA to this book to 4.3%. Second quarter also saw strong revival in the demand in both new and used vehicle segment, leading to our disbursement rising by 86% year-on-year to rupees 1,906 crores during Q2 FY22. Supported by low base effect and strong rebound in demand post second wave, our Wheels AUM has reached 14,280 crores across 6.5 lakh vehicles, with 52% book being under personal segment and average LTV of 80%. While auto industry continues to witness pressure led by supply side constraints, semiconductor shortage, low inventory levels at dealerships, we believe the near-term outlook for personal and commercial vehicles will remain strong driven by the same factors. The formalization of used vehicle industry is a big opportunity, and I would like to highlight 2 industry research points to substantiate. In the next 4 or 5 years, the ratio of sales of used cars to new cars is expected to reach 2:1 from current 1.5:1. Similarly, the share of organized players in used vehicles is expected to increase from current 25% to 45% in next coming years. AU Bank is well positioned to capitalize on this opportunity by actively engaging with both online and offline used car businesses. We have increased our focus on this segment, forming separate sales team and building a robust channel distribution network of over 3,000 used car dealers and their associates. Our new vehicles to used vehicles ratio has now reached 62% to 38%, and over time we see this ratio nearing to 50-50. We continue to watch the opportunity in electric vehicle space as well. Moving on to our SBL business. SBL has now become our largest business with AUM of rupees 14,378 crores across 1.5 lakh MSME businesses and has remained one of our most stable and resilient businesses. In the current quarter, we saw the NPA reducing to 3.14%, a reversal of 106 basis points in one quarter. It remains a highly granular book with average ticket size of 10 lakhs and average LTV of 50% across well-diversified businesses with no dominant segment or profile. On the demand side, we saw some good demand in certain categories like FMCG, retail traders, etc., while green shoots were visible in other impacted segments. The total disbursement for the quarter was at rupees 978 crores, down by 7% on a year-on-year basis as we continue to see customers with caution. Simultaneously, we did see growth in states like MP, Punjab, Himachal and Haryana, signifying a better Q3 outlook. During the quarter, we also remained cautious in our underwriting assessment and kept the decisioning of non-standard cases at high levels with very limited balance transfer cases. With resumption in activity levels, opening up of education sector, the upcoming marriage season in North India, and the destocking during ongoing festive season, we expect demand to pick up in the second half of the financial year. Our SBL team is all charged up and remains well geared up to capture this demand. With our digital onboarding solutions well tested and our capacities well built out, in the absence of any significant lockdown, we are quite hopeful of a strong SBL disbursements in H2 of FY22. Moving on to our housing finance business. With around 3 years of building the housing vertical at the banking platform, the total AUM in housing vertical has reached to 1,690 crores across 18,000 dwelling units. The portfolio comprises 80% home loan and 20% non-housing loan like LAP and top-up loans. Our disbursements in Q2 FY22 were at rupees 376 crores against disbursement of rupees 58 crores in Q1 FY22 and total disbursement of rupees 177 crores in H1 of FY21. Timely changes in underwriting criteria led to capture a good set of customers, thereby creating a quality portfolio with only 84 cases in NPA amounting to 0.6% of GNPA in the HL business. The average ticket size in this book is 11 lakhs, whereas the average LTV remained at 53% as on 30th September 21. The reverse migration caused by the rise of the remote working culture has led to the heightened demand for homes in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Decade-low housing finance rates, stagnant property prices, and government-focused housing for all, the affordable housing market is expected to continue and attract serious home buyers. With our reducing cost of funds, we have also launched an elite scheme targeting better credit profile customers and remain well placed to leverage new locations and markets going ahead. Moving on to our commercial banking business, our two main businesses on commercial banking platform are business banking and agri banking, which are balance sheet-based lending, where we compete with mainstream banks and have gradually built a gross advance book of about rupees 3,269 crores. In these two businesses, across 6,000 plus SME and MSME businesses performing resiliently during the pandemic with GNPA at 0.6%. Both these businesses provide strong fee opportunity in the form of non-fund-based lending and transaction banking. During the quarter, the disbursement in these businesses was at rupees 778 crores, growing by 130% on year-on-year basis. We will continue to grow this segment by focusing on providing bespoke banking solutions to MSMEs, combining working capital, current account, promoter accounts, and transaction banking solutions. We were the first SFB and probably among the few banks to launch our own credit card in the first 4 years of their journey and have started seeing some traction with our insurance of reaching 50,000 plus credit cards till date. The entire layout and foundation of the product, right for conceptualization to launching, was undertaken during COVID-19 period, and we expect to see these businesses grow rapidly over near to medium term. Our merchant acquisition and engagement strategy is also shaping up well with deployment of 2 lakh plus UPI QR codes with associated transaction-based lending. To conclude, we have been sailing against the wind for last 18 months. The bank has used this time to focus on building our capabilities and capacities, expanding our leadership team, renovating our liability franchise, launching products like credit cards and UPI QR, integrating technology in our product journey, and focusing on launching digital properties like AU 0101 and video banking. We believe we have the right technology and platforms with segmental leadership positions across collections, disbursement, branches, and team alignment. And as the Indian economy is gearing up for a speedy recovery, given our vintage, product alignment, execution capabilities, and our digital outlook, AU Bank is fully equipped and ready to be in the top quartile to take advantage of that recovery. I am personally very excited to lead this business and look forward to sharing more with you in coming quarters. With this outlook, I now invite my colleague Vivek Tripathi to share our views on the asset quality of these businesses. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Atul sir. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'll be sharing a brief perspective on the asset quality. We saw weaning effect of COVID and most of the businesses saw increased activity during the quarter, which resulted into a better cash flow. We saw collection efficiency sustaining to the June and July level in the entire quarter. The collection efficiency and customer activation numbers of Q2 are in line with pre-COVID levels. The average collection efficiency in Q2 is at 109% compared to 101% in Q1. Customer activation also remains stable at 91% in September compared to 92% in June. Our gross NPA reduced by 115 bips from 4.31% to 3.16% in Q1. From 4.31% in Q2 to 3.16% in Q1. In Q2. And NPA number also, the net NPA number also reduced from 2.26% in Q1 to 1.65% in Q2. The improvement seen sequentially in terms of economic activity, borrower connect, business continuity, the overall confidence in the operating environment, and there is a more visibility in the cash flows of customers. Therefore, customers are forthcoming for resolution. However, we continue to remain cautiously optimistic as there is still little uncertainty in the third wave. We have witnessed around 61% activation in the NPA book, which was there on 30th June during the Q2, where customers have either done repayment or have surrendered the security. As a result of this, we saw 37% resolution in the opening NPA book. Here it is important to note that more than 80% resolution happened due to repayment, while residual almost about 18% of resolution happened on account of security disposal. Further, we have security in hand for almost 10% of our NPA book. It may be noted that so far, bank has not done any write-off. However, we shall start cleaning the book going forward. This is the recoverability on account-to-account basis. On restructuring part, bank has done 80 crores of incremental restructuring in Q2, which is 0.2% of our gross advances. And as on 30th September, the bank had total of 1,302 crores of standard restructured assets, which represents 3.6% of our gross advances. Out of this pool, billing has started for 48% of restructured book, wherein 14% of the book is NPA as on 30th September. As we anticipated, the slippages is around 30% in the Q1. As of now, it remains within the comfortable limit of that. During the quarter, 57 crores of NPA was added and 48 crores were resolved in the restructured book, with net increase of only 9 crores, and closing NPA of restructured book stands at 99 crores. On an overall book, if we look at the composition as of 30th September, 50% of book now originated before March, and 50% of book was originated before March, after March 20. So, further, March 20 book is 92% current and contributes only 5% of NPA and 2% of restructured assets. The overall resilience of our entire book has validated the approach of underwriting and customer segment we cater. On moratorium book, as on 30th September, we had outstanding 4+ months of moratorium book of 4,500 crores, which is contributing to 76% of NPA and 70% of restructured assets. However, 43% of this book is current and another 27% in the first and second bucket. Therefore, we expect minimal slippages, further slippages from this book. On ECLGS, bank has done cumulative ECLGS disbursement of 958 crore, out of which 87 crore was done in Q2. As on 30th September, bank had total of 887 crores of ECLGS book, which is 78% current and with 1.1% of NPA. We do not see any significant difference in the asset performance of ECLGS book vis-a-vis a normal book. During the quarter, 4 crore NPA was added, while 5 crores were resolved in the ECLGS book, with net reduction of 1 crore. The closing NPA of ECLGS book was 10 crore. On the provisioning coverage, bank is carrying a provisioning of 560 crores against GNPA of 1151 crores, with PCR of 49%, and provision of 213 crores against restructured assets of 1,302 crores. The bank has utilized the entire provision reversal, net of repo losses of 110 crores to increase the contingency provision to 300 crores. The contingency provision now stands at 84 bits of loan book, which further strengthens the balance sheet and makes us better prepared for any unforeseen event. As you would be aware, our loans are granular, secured, primarily for income generation, coupled with our strong on-ground connect and agility helps in faster recovery. Also, in-house loan sourcing and collection helps in underwriting and providing flexibility in aligning resources basis the situation. Keeping aforesaid factors in mind, as well as NPA resolution movement of Q1, with 80% resolution being driven by repayment and repo loss rate remains broadly stable versus historical levels, we feel confident that PCR of 49% is quite likely to be more than sufficient to cover any credit loss arising from this portfolio. With regards to restructured books, as mentioned earlier, the slippages trend so far are within the anticipated level, and the 16% coverage against the pool looks sufficient. Further, over and above this, the bank also carrying contingency provision of 300 crore for any unforeseen risk in the future. Now I would like to request Mr. Rishi Dhariwal to give update on a performance of branch banking.
Thank you, Vivek, and good morning, everyone. The launch of our Badlaav Humse Hai campaign with Amir and Kiara has done wonders for the retail branch banking business. It has helped enhance our brand acceptability and recall in people's mind, thereby boosting customer acquisitions. Our digital banking platform, AU 0101 Super App, has made significant strides since its launch in the last quarter, enabling a seamless banking experience for our customers. Over the last 4 years, the branch banking business and liabilities have matured substantially, making continual improvements to build predictable, stable, and scalable franchise. To begin with, I'll provide the overall business highlights. Our overall savings deposit book has grown by approximately 26% quarter-on-quarter, from 8,102 crores in Q1 to 10,228 crores in Q2 FY22, and by 138% year-on-year from 4,296 crores in Q2 FY21 to 10,228 crores in Q2 FY22. About 5.8 lakh customers are digitally active, and going forward, we aim to ramp up this further. The current account book grew 13% in the quarter from 1,387 crores in Q1 to 1,600 crores in Q2 FY22, and by 54% year-on-year from 1,041 crores in Q2 FY21 to 1,600 crores in Q2 FY22. More than 200,000 customers have been equipped with QR and over 8,000 with POS, allowing the bank to get better balances in their accounts with us, monitor transactions, and present suitable products and services to our customers based on the same. We have been able to improve our CASA ratio consistently over the last few quarters. As of September 2021, our CASA ratio is 30% compared to 26% in June 21, 23% in March 21, and 20% in September 20. Improving our CASA balances and optimum pricing on our savings and deposits will help us to reduce the overall cost of our deposits over a period of time. We activated almost 77,000 debit cards in the quarter. 10 lakh transactions amounting to rupees 267 crores in value were done by customers during the quarter using our debit cards. Our newly launched credit cards have been a game changer. We issued 30,000 credit cards during the quarter. 300,000 transactions were done amounting to 120 crores in value. Also, about 84% of our credit card customers are ETB with 70-30 mix of liabilities and asset customers. Our partnership with ICICI Prudential and Future Generali for life insurance and Aditya Birla and Care Health Insurance have enabled us to sell more than 10,300 policies in the quarter with increasing ticket size, which is indicative of better customer profile. We have around 23,700 customers who invest in SIPs through us. Because of our well-integrated mutual fund and broking services on the AU 0101 app and our focus to grow our investment segment, we expect engagement with customers through these products to improve as we grow. We also have more than 43,800 3-in-1 broking accounts through our partnership with Motilal Oswal Financial Services. I will now talk about our medium-term priorities. Our focus on acquisitions and activation in the past has resulted in acquisition of over 15 lakh savings accounts and 1.3 lakh current accounts. As we had shared last quarter also, we are taking measures to boost engagement and deepen relationships to establish sticky long-term customer base. To this end, we are equipped with various attachment products and services, namely debit card, e-com and POS activation, UPI, bill payments and FASTag, Royale and Platinum products for savings, and AU Power current account for current account customers, SIP, 3-in-1, asset products, life and health insurance products, etc., to build customer engagement. These initiatives have resulted in 49.1% of the customers regularly transacting with us, with 20 transactions on average per transacting customer. Furthermore, more than 60% of liabilities customers use 2 or more of our products. We continue to invest in building relationship management to cater to the needs of customers and focus on the customer lifetime value. With our attention on family banking, we continue to organically drive new acquisitions through referrals of friends and family. We have equipped our sales team with digital tools and gamified performance tracking for better sales experience, and we continually utilize analytics to understand our customers better. In terms of physical distribution, we have a well-oiled system in semi-urban regions, which we will continue to operate. Our growth in liabilities will be driven by metros and urban markets. We have launched 26 new liability branches in the quarter, 25 in urban markets and 1 in in the core markets, bolstering our focus to grow the customer base in urban markets. We are optimizing the size of our branches to maximize productivity per square foot of a branch, taking into consideration the shift towards digital banking. In terms of our digital initiatives, we had over 5.8 lakh registered users on our AU 0101 Super app as of September 21, and it's growing. We opened more than 28,000 accounts via digital route using AU 0101 app and video banking during the quarter. The number of transactions on the app have been steadily increasing, with 28 lakh plus transactions recorded during the quarter. In August, we launched the digital savings account, a no minimum balance account designed to provide instant banking facility to digital customers. During the Badlaav Humse Hai campaign, the bank rolled out a series of offers on platforms such as BigBasket, JioMart, Domino's, MakeMyTrip, and many more. These offers nudge the customers to increase their balances with their accounts with AU Bank and is an important initiative to get the customers to engage with us. In conclusion, our targeted efforts on customer engagement, optimizing physical distribution, and developing people capabilities along with the Badlaav Humse Hai campaign have provided the bank with the much needed momentum to scale retail liabilities on the platform created over the last 4 years. Thank you.
Rutuja, we can maybe start the questions now.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to limit the questions to 2 per participant and use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Antariksha Banerjee from ICICI Prudential Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I have 2 sets of questions. First is, of the 3,000 employees that you have added this quarter that you mentioned, can you tell us a rough split between how much was in collections and how much was in business or maybe in digital? And on the total stock of employees also, what would be the rough split between collections and business and how that has changed over the last 1 year? Because I'm sure collections would have been much more important over the last 1 year. That's the first set. And the second is, on your core customer segment, right, given the level of fuel price hike that we have seen, how do you think the cash flows are impacted? Because at least ground checks suggest that the tariff hikes have not kept pace with the rate at which the fuel prices are growing. So is that an impairment of cash flows, or do you think that as recovery happens, the cash flows are still growing, and if so, why?
The first data, which is around HR, I can give you a little bit of overall composition of team. We are having around 23,000 plus people, in which we have around maybe 30% sales force, around 10% collection force, And other than that, people are in different, maybe around another 20% are in the front-end job like, credit, operation and all those things, right? And specifically, if you want to ask 3,000, we haven't hired specific people for collections because we have built our capacity for every function, way back. We were actually building our team from last, maybe now 12 to 15-month period. So this all hiring done this quarter was a normal kind of hiring where we'd have hired people on front jobs, back-end jobs, across verticals, whether sales, credit, risk, governance. So it remains a very normal hiring pattern, right? And I'm not able to figure out your second question.
The second question is on the wheels, sir. The end customer or the borrower, how has their income profile or cash flow been impacted because of the recent fuel price hike? Or has the tariff or revenues kept pace with that? Are the take-ons reducing or is that not an impact?
Yeah. Hi, this is Bhaskar here from Wheels. While the fuel price increase in the profile that we lend to, which is a very, very retailized single vehicle owner, where there the freight rate gets adjusted as a function of the fuel price as well. What the one that you are referring to is more impactful to the contractual fleet owners, the large fleet owners. So for the retailized business like the ones that we do, which is more intracity, it is more short distances. Here, the freight gets adjusted as a matter of fuel in the business lines that we operate.
So, if it's possible, can you give us a rough breakup of what the wheels book looks like? I mean, you used to share it earlier, but as of today, what would the stock breakup be roughly across categories?
I mean, we have a personal segment of around 50%. We have commercial loading of about 22%. We have commercial passenger of about 18%. We have a tractor of about 8%. We have construction equipment of about 3%. So that's how it all gets spread out. And all of them are pretty much retailized.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sonal Gandhi from Nirmal Bang. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. I just got one question. So if I'm looking at your loan losses for the last quarter, 1Q, I see that has been revised upwards to 206 crores. And similarly, you have also increased your other income by 30 crores. So that has been revised upwards. Can you please tell me what exactly is happening there?
Sonal, can you please repeat the question?
Voice is not clear.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was talking about loan losses. So for the last quarter, we have revised it upwards to 206 crores. And similarly, we have also increased our other income by 30 crores, I mean. So what exactly has happened over there?
Yeah, Sonal, so there is a RBI guideline because of which there were some reclassifications. If you refer to slide 17, there's a footnote that makes the reasoning clear. So the MTM losses have gone into the other income, and that's the main adjustment.
Okay, I'll go through it. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Himanshu Taluja from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, just need one clarification. If you can give on the moratorium pool, what's the total moratorium pool, and also like between standard, NPA, restructure and the SMA overdue, if you can give that classification.
No, so Himanshu, Vivek here. We've been giving detail on 4 and 4+ month moratorium book. So at the end of Q1, it was 4,900 crore. Now it has reduced to 4,500 crore as we speak. And as I've given the colors on that 43% is in current and another 27% in first and second bucket. So as far as the contribution in the NPA and the restructuring book is concerned, almost 869, which is roughly 76% of the NPA is from this book, and almost 70% of the restructured book is from moratorium book.
Okay, sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Arav Sanghai from VT Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Hope all well at your end, and congrats for the quarter. So, I have two questions. My first question will be on the credit cost going ahead. So you mentioned that we'll be looking to take some write-offs in the coming quarter, and I think as a strategy, we might also like to maintain some counter-cyclical provisions going ahead. So what might be the credit cost one can expect from next quarter?
To be very honest, we need to go with some more time because the whole recovery process has just started last quarter only, and we need to figure out the whole means available to us to recover our money. And but I can only say you this, that we have around now 1,150 crores kind of NPA, and we have a provision of around 560 plus contingency of 300 crores. So I genuinely feel that the credit cost will be under the provisions only, right? So we don't have any extra P&L hit, or So you need to give us some more time, maybe a quarter or next quarter, to really figure out what is the stable credit cost in the P&L.
Fair enough, sir. So my second question is on the OPEX front. So I know we are investing a lot in tech and brand building and specifically employee addition. So by when can we expect some normalized level of employee cost? And also the second part to this question is when can we expect, sir, more lateral hiring taking place? I know you have mentioned that we have added a lot of people from other like veteran bankers and all, but when can we expect some more seasoned person in the top management as well going ahead?
No, so to answer, so first, we have built our capacity, from last 2-3 quarters. So, and unfortunately, quarter one was completely washed out. But we hope that quarter 3 and quarter 4 will give us space to again use that capacity. So HR hiring remains very normal, and we are in line. In terms of key hirings, we are doing as of when is required. We actually got head of video banking. We got a new digital officer. So that is all been done, and to remain confidential around it, we haven't shown you data, but we are getting people from across board. Whether large banks, small banks, fintech. So there we remain very excited. We remain one of the most exciting companies to people to join us, right? So that is also been seen, So any other on the OPEX side, so you rightly said that we are investing in our credit card business, QR codes. We want to build a very new tech-led bank, so it requires a lot of investment in applications, infra, all those things. So that will continue to do. We will continue to do that because it's a future requirement, right? But we have that added advantage. We have the high yield book and low cost money. So that is why we are able to even deliver kind of 1.8, 1.9 kind of ROA. So that is quite enough for us, to really make ourselves investable in this kind of properties and initiatives.
Like, just one clarification, sir. All this hiring that we are doing, all this lateral hiring, will it be more towards the Mumbai branch, or is it a fair mix of both Jaipur and Mumbai as and when the need arises?
Across. So we are very sorted out ourselves there that the job which requires working at Bombay, people can join there, but a job requires you to be at Jaipur, people need to be at Jaipur. So we are not compromising our stand there, and largely we have sorted out. So we are good to go there.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Hiral Desai from Anived Portfolio Managers. Please go ahead.
Hi Sanjay, good morning. Congrats on a great quarter, and hopefully things improve for us. And the question was, if I look at the disbursement this quarter, stronger for wheels and slightly muted for MSME.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Desai, but your voice is breathing a lot, so we cannot hear you properly.
Hello.
Mr. Desai, your voice is not audible. May we request you to please rejoin the queue, sir?
Sure, I'll do that.
Thank you. We'll move to the next question, which is from the line of Renish Haresh Bhai from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Congrats on a great set of numbers. So Sanjay sir, first question is on our AU 101 app. So if you can share the unit economics and maybe the customer profile of this customer who are active on the AU 101 app. The broadly the question here, is a sense that since most of our customer are captive customer and hence we would not be incurring any bank processing cost as such, So on a standalone basis, whether AU 101 is at break even as of now, excluding the marketing expense?
Hi, I'll let Gaurav, who takes care of our digital initiative, so he would answer this question.
Yeah, so I'll give you sort of, couple of points towards your question, right? The first one is if you look at the profile of customers that is being acquired. So I think we've given out details on one of the slides, but broadly, Rishi mentioned that, we've acquired about sort of 28,000, liability customers, digital savings account customers through 0101. And what we have seen is these are largely urban and salaried customers. So this is a slightly, different profile from what sort of, our overall stock of liability customers has, right?
Correct.
So that's the first one towards the profile. Second term, point in terms of unit economics and break even, right? So we are in the investment phase right now. So we are, there are two things we are doing. One is just building the products, right? So you saw us launching 0101 and we are continuing to add more products and more journeys on that. So we'll continue to invest on those. And the second effort is towards digital adoption, right? So there again, we've given out numbers which is, across all metrics, sort of both registrations, monthly and daily active users, we see a very encouraging trends and we have dedicated teams which are driving, increased usage of digital channels for servicing, increased usage of digital channels for acquisition. So, we'll continue to sort of scale our digital bank, but it's very early to talk about unit economics there.
Okay, but even on a standalone basis, let's say on a transaction basis, we would not be break even?
So again, we don't sort of, it's very difficult if you say, can I break out the digital bank separately to rest of the bank, right? So that's not possible to do, right? What maybe one thing that will help you is if you compare cost of acquisition of a liability customer through 0101, that's significantly lower than a cost of acquisition of a branch customer.
Yeah, actually that is what. So let's say if we are acquiring customer through 101 app, in what time we'll be able to recover that cost? Any ballpark guesstimate there, or it's too early to comment?
So, what I can share is, our cost of acquisition of a digital savings account customer is sort of, roughly, let's say, half of that of a branch customer.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. The next question is to Bhaskar, sir, again, sort of repeating one. So, sir, what Andrish was highlighting that at the ground level, what kind of feedback we are getting? So the fuel price is sort of increasing every day. And of course, since we are in the segment wherein your tariff will get adjusted maybe immediately. But do you see any impact on the growth side, if not on the asset quality?
Renish, if you look at, I will want to stay specific to what we do. And if you look at what we do on the commercial side, we are more a small commercial vehicle player, technically. And there if you see courtesy e-commerce, courtesy the kind of demand that is coming up even for agri movement, for this small haul movement, there is a visible traction even going on even at this point in time, in spite of the fuel price increase. While there is also in some places the fact that CNG option also does keep the market alive. That's another part of the story. But even if you look at on the small commercial vehicle side, we continue to see the same kind of requirement going on, because there is a pending demand of all the waves which was also pending. So on the small commercial vehicle, there does not seem to be much of an issue at this point in time, courtesy that adjustment and requirement.
Got it. And sir, just last question, sorry, a follow-up on that, might be a little stupid as well. But do we have any data on let's say entire our vehicle book, how much of this would be running on the CNG and how much would be directly linked to the fuel prices?
How much would be running on?
On the CNG, and how much would be on the petrol diesel?
At this point in time, broadly, it will be around 15%. 10 to 15% is what I would think. Yeah, 10 to 15% is what I would think.
Sorry, sir, I didn't get this number.
10%.
So, Renish, we had given this in our annual report this time. So, around 10% of our vehicles run on CNG right now.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much, sir. This is very helpful, sir.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants to please limit their questions to 2 per participant. If you have a follow-up question, you may rejoin the queue. The next question is from the line of Amit Nanavati from Nomura. Please go ahead. Mr. Amit Nanavati, please go ahead with your question. Your line is unmuted.
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Yeah. Hi. Just wanted to understand the nature of reversals here, right? We've had very strong reversals in NPA. What part of it, if you can give some color, would be, wave one kind of impacted customers who moved into NPA early on, or what part were more transient, which only moved into NPA last quarter and quickly bounced back?
Yeah, Amit. So our Vikrant, head of collection is there. He will reply on this.
So just to give you some color on the total 55 crores of reversals which have happened in Q2, 20% has happened through security enforcement, 10% have happened through foreclosures completely moving out of the book, and 70% is through cash collection.
I got that number. Just want to understand those collections, those repayments which are coming, right? Were these like the ones which slipped into 2Q, or even the ones which slipped in the wave 1 or wave 2 versus wave 1, basically, if you can give us.
So we haven't really looked at the
Amit, Vivek here. We haven't looked at these numbers the way you wanted to know. So at this moment, I don't have this data in front of us.
Yeah, and Amit, you have to also understand that I think the wave 2 didn't really see a lot of slippages to the extent that we saw in wave 1. Like for us, if you look at the gross NPA tagged as on March end was 4.3%, which was 1,503 crores. And when you come down to 30th of June, when wave 2 impact might have come in, we still had 1,496 crores. So for us, the impact was more upfront.
Understood. No, because wave 1 we saw a similar trend, right? What slipped in 4Q immediately bounced back in 1Q. And just wanted to understand if, whatever at a gross level slipped in 1Q is bouncing back in 2Q. Second question, on the cost front, right? At one end, you have heavy investments being made on the digital front. At the other end, if I look at branches, right, versus say 4Q20 or FY20 level, we are up by around 50 percentage points in terms of our branch count. And we'll also be having elevated collection costs. So broadly, which part will normalize sooner or later? What contribution of those costs are broadly, if you can give some sense of what would move in the whole costing equation?
So Amit, of course, there might be a smaller elevation around collection cost, But as you know, we are nearing to the pre-COVID level in terms of activities, in terms of collection efficiencies, and all those stuff. And we are also growing, right? So I think the most stabilizing item would be around the collection cost. We should be stabilized by maybe next 2 quarters. But we will keep on investing in our branches because we are just around 800 touch points, and our digital outlook is not so big as of now, right? So both the properties, whether it's the digital properties or whether it's our branch properties, need to expand, and we have that whole plan. So that will remain elevated. But I think this quarter we had a exceptional quarter because of our mega campaign coming in. And we launched the credit card and we launched the QR codes and the digital property. So there is a certain amount of elevation there. But I think those will also get subsidized in coming quarters. But our investment in all those properties will continue.
Okay. And if I may just add, Amit, we've also built excess capacity on the asset side. And because business disbursements are still picking up, as disbursements pick up, that should give us some improvement in operating leverage as well.
Understood. Last thing, any growth aspiration this year that you'd want to kind of point out?
Not as of now. Our last experience taught us that, this is still an unpredictable environment. India looks good, but maybe not internationally. So we just want to take every day as a new day and really want to come and execute our plans, not thinking too much about future, and let this overcast goes away in maybe next 1 or 2 quarters. Then we will say, how really want to grow in coming years.
All right, sir. Thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Hiral Desai from Moneyweb Portfolio Managers. Please go ahead.
Hi, Sanjay. Am I audible now?
Yes. Yeah, hi.
Yeah. Congrats on the quarter, and hopefully us as well as India will sort of come out of this COVID-related issue. So the question I really had was on the disbursement side. If I look at the MSME disbursement, while that's a more broad-based indicator of the economy, the disbursements are slightly weaker as compared to wheels. If I compare both the business lines. And the MSME disbursement even in Q1 was relatively muted. So, just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So, of course, SBL, is a very small traders, service provider on the road. And so they were largely impacted. And we have also had done tightening our credit delivery process, right? And you will appreciate that just Q2 has allowed us some kind of hope. And right. Those guys are also settling down. Our team is also settling down, and our focus was more on collections. So, but I think the coming quarters will be more festive, and God forbid if COVID doesn't come, lot of economic activity will help, trickle down a lot of benefit to those people. Then I think we will able to come back to the similar levels of growth, But that book remains very exciting for us. And the way those customers reacted, after the normalcy has come in, that has given us more support and confidence that we need to build this book to the next level, But I think we need to keep patience for some time, and then once everything settles down, we'll press our pedal.
Yeah. And the other question was on the wheels disbursement that we had of about 2,000 crores. What would be the proportion of used cars within that? And if Bhaskar can generally talk about the used car market, given that there is a supply issue at the OE end because of the chip shortage and the supply chain issues. So how is the used car market shaping up and the competitive intensity there?
On the new and used proportion, we continue to remain 50-50, Viral. So that's something which we have been doing for the last couple of quarters. If you see that there has been a conscious design about going on the used business. So that continues in that same ratio. Your question on the used car business, yes, they are definitely seeing a demand because in the event of a new vehicle not being available and with used vehicle options actually getting better with every passing day, because the kind of models which are coming, people are upgrading. If the earlier timeline was about 5 to 6 years, it is now coming down to about 3.5 to 4 years. So, the availability of used car is going up with every passing day. Well, in the interim, because of this short-term shortage of new, there has been a few lesser exchanges, so not to read much into it, but I would see this continuing and sustainable over a longer period of time. And in terms of the competitive intensity, frankly, the same players are in the field. There are no new financiers who have come into the financing side of the used car business as we see in the current situation.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bharat Shah from ASK Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Sanjay. It's been a remarkable kind of a period of departure from many troubles that have intervened in between. But yes. I had one basic question, and I wanted your kind of incisive assessment. So if we talk about a great bank, which is future-ready and forward-looking, I would say there are 6-7 pillars. The liability management strength, business model and underwriting capability, a suite of products so that there is enough to offer, customer engagement and acquisition efforts, technology, people and talent pool, and geographies and distribution. Leadership, of course, remains the most important, but on that I don't need to ask because I already know. On these other aspects, what is your own assessment of where AU stands today? Now that hopefully the shadow of pandemic is kind of being left behind, and it looks like the country is more ready to embrace opportunities rather than keep worrying about the pandemic. So in terms of the liability management, underwriting, product suite, talent pool, customer acquisition, geography and distribution, and underwriting strength. On each of these, if you can, and of course technology, what is your own assessment as to where you stand?
Yeah. Good morning, Bharat Bhai. Having amazing question. So let me start with because I commented in my opening remarks about the objective of a bank, honestly, is to have the customer in a center stage, right? And we need to offer.
I could join little late, so I missed your earlier comment.
Okay. It's fine, perfectly fine. So no, I just want to say that the objective of a bank is to keep customer at a center stage, and to begin as a banking franchise, you need money, right? So I strongly believe that the purpose of any banking franchise should to raise retail or a stable money at a decent cost. I won't say low cost or high cost, but at a cost which that franchise can manage, right? And honestly, last 4.5 years now, I'm very happy the way we have built up. We have understood first about the importance of this, and then have built up the entire ecosystem internally and externally, right? We begin with a high kind of rates, but as we are now moving forward, we have all these things in place, whether it's about people, product, processes, brand, trust, service attitude, and you would have seen that we have grown ourselves now from a zero level in April 17, now at 40,000 crores at around 6% rate, right? So, and being an SFB, it was not easy journey, but just putting ourselves on every day, applying ourselves on every day, and building that connect with customers, building that relationship, and also building the digital outlook around it, right? Because we started with the tab banking, which opened up around 80% of our saving account in 30 minutes, right? We have just launched our super app. We launched our credit cards, QR codes. I think all these things has been done just to make customer very comfortable around franchise, and we have learned a lot in last 4 years, because being an NBFC, we were just lending money, right? So there was little bit challenge around our relationship management that time. But we have understood the importance of relationship and offering the whole patient's outlook towards customer handling and building all those things which is required to catch his imagination, right? And I'm sure our team will understand more and more as they get maturity. But the focus is immense, and we are able to take many leadership from the competition space. And we are just around 600 branches to have a real distribution for the branch banking, right? And in that also 50% is in the core markets, right? And you will be surprised to know, Bharat, that in some of our core markets, we are even bigger than the largest bank of this country, right? So that is giving us a lot of confidence, and we are building a lot of method there. And I think this is, in my opinion, the 50 or 60% of a franchise, right, as a banking, So if we can sort out our liability franchise, customer relationship, customer engagement, customer trust, we can actually let this organization forever type, So there we are not making any compromise, anything, we just want to focus on that one part, more heavily and doing everything. Honestly, I spend my every day, couple of hours to really see how we are building our branch banking franchise, right? And if you build a branch banking franchise and you build a liability franchise at a low cost, I think lending becomes easy. And you will appreciate that AU has built up their asset franchise from last 2 years. And there we have the ability to lend in the core markets, right? And that is why AU always remain a profitable banking, even in initial years, because there we were able to charge a little bit higher rates than to urban market customers. And there I found that AU remain on their, we remain like a previous avatar NBFC. We know how to lend, how to collect, whom to lend. So our credit policies, our collection process, our collection strategies, our sourcing strategies remain absolutely same the way we have done in NBFC. Our even a book profile, which is Wheels, SBL and home loans, is now 10-year-old, right? So the entire team is well stitched, and you will appreciate that this whole pandemic for last 6 quarters, it's such a long drive, but our NPLs remain in a bound range, and I'm very happy the way the customer also reacted towards this, and that has given us more confidence that we should go pan-India, right, in coming years, So the idea remains that, we take money from urban markets and lend it to core markets and we retail, have a priority sector book, have a income generating assets. So our principles of assets is very clearly laid down. We are adding commercial banking because in urban markets or even in core markets, certain kind of customers look for a bank CCs, bank overdraft, bank guarantees, trades, international trades. So that is an icing on cake for us, and that team is also settled from last 5 years. Vivek is on the call. He's head of the commercial banking, and I think the kind of India would be next 5-6 years. I think that book has the ability to grow, right? So I think there we have, in my opinion, liability and asset we have largely sorted out. Of course, every day we have to execute based on the learnings and based on the opportunity we will get. And in the last term, it's around digital. It's not an easy subject for a bank. We are highly regulated, and digital is very specialized skill. But I am very proud of the team, the way they have built on their own, on our limitation around our people, limitation around our whole as a franchise. We can't experiment everything. So, but the way we have built our super app, the way we are building our video banking, the way we have built our whole UPI system, credit cards, QR code, and we have very amazing leadership at every level. So they are very passionate to do this, And I hope, for me, digital is more an enabler, right? And that we are doing it. But digital becoming a business for us, may take some more time. But we are clearly focusing ourselves, and that is why we are doing a lot of investment there. But I think that investment we are keeping ourselves for next 5 to 8, 10 years type of horizon, because it requires that kind of runway, right? So that is there. Otherwise, other than that, I would say whether it's people, which is so important for us, our team remain intact. Last time we also spoke about the whole challenges that we faced, but I think it was one of the events. And beyond a point, you can't control people's choices and people's desires. But AU remain one of the most exciting companies for people to join and work. We have our own culture, and we are proud of that because we have come to this level because of that culture and execution. And we really want to be continuing on that path, because banking is not is a fragile business. We need to keep many things in check and control. And because in the end, we are dealing with the public money. So that is also being sorted out. And as we move forward and based on our growth, the whole India is our opportunity, honestly. We are just in 15 states with lesser than 600 towns, So we will go pan-India in times to come, but we are not in hurry. We will take every step based on some requirement, right? And hopefully you will see AU growing from here and becoming a pan-India bank, right, in coming times. So I think this is there. And other than that, our compliance standards, our governance standards, our, whatever way, the way we operate is not, we are doing as a bank, we are doing from last 25 years. And we got the support of every investors, big institutions, people like you, who have supported us in our thick and thin times. So I believe that, we will be continuing on that path, and the team is entirely excited, very young team, 30 plus age kind of team, So I think just we need to have more patience around us and look for the opportunity when it comes, and, we execute on that line. Thank you so much, Bharat. I hope I answered you.
Yeah. Sanjay, always very eloquent. Let me simplify what I was asking, and maybe for some other day. But for the moment, I got a lot of good answers on what I was raising. So to summarize, what I was trying to say was that I believe India is emerging into a very, very large opportunity, and good banks will have a huge amount of role to play. And if AU is staring at that future and to engage into that opportunity, then I think some of the most important key pillars have to be well-founded. And of course, on leadership, entrepreneurial capability, agility, I give AU 10 out of 10 because that is what my personal opinion and belief is. But for other areas, whenever you think kind of introspective analysis is done on these in a subsequent call or any other call, when you think if we can kind of do a more detailed discussion on each of the key pillars, that would be great. It would be good to hear your own viewpoint of where it stands.
Yes, Bharat. We will take care of that. And so thank you so much for your input.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhijit Sakare from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Congrats on the quarter.
Hi, good morning.
The first one was that on asset quality, when we look at the first and the second quarter together, we have seen like 800 odd crores of recoveries and upgrades, but we still have something like 450 odd crores of fresh NPLs. And looks like the segments where inflow and outflow are happening, it's the same one, right? Vehicles and SPL. So where is the disconnect here? As in, which category or profile of customers are recovering so quickly, and which are the ones which are still sort of slipping into NPLs?
Abhijit, you have the question. So largely I would answer this that the people who are having a commercial passenger vehicle, right? Like school buses and the normal buses, they are not doing well. So in the restructured asset, they got the they got the restructuring done through that. But once that get maturity, they are slipping in the NPS because their business has not come back, right? Like for HBL, like the tent house, the schools, some kind of marriage-related events, companies, and all those things. We got to restructure them in last year, but they haven't come back. So there are certain kind of profiles which has not even started or is still struggling, right? So those businesses and those customers are not even able to pay, and they are defaulting it, right? And otherwise, many business like taxis, even saloons, the kirana stores, and all those things which were getting some struggle early, but they have come back strongly because of this opening up, So that is the whole reason of some kind of slippages and more of a upgrades.
Got it. The second one was we said that we've hired like 3,000 people during the quarter, but the employee base is still marginally lower. So it gives an impression that the attrition levels are still fairly high. Is that a correct observation? And if yes, like which portfolios or segments where we are still seeing very high levels of attrition?
Abhijit, this remains an issue for every organization, and we are not saying that we don't have that. So, and it remains always on the front end. You will appreciate that people in the core markets, in villages, join bank to do something, and when they find that banks are, banks work with difficult things, and then only the people leave, right? So most of the people who leave is on the front level people, right? So their attrition is close to around 40%, right? So, and that will continue to be very honest, But if you see the whole attrition at top 100 people of AU, it's very less, I will appreciate that many companies have published our internal transfers also, but that's our policy, right? Because I don't think that bank is a rocket science, right? And if you're a chartered accountant, or if you're a professional, you can be used for many functions internally, right? For me, if you are a head of risk or a head of accounts or a head of audit or a head of compliance, it hardly a difference in the whole job, right? So, and that's our policy. So we are running this kind of whole practice from last 25 years, and we have reached to this level because of all those practices. One-off events, should not change our course. And I strongly believe that we really take care of our people. And in our AU, 10% people have the ESOPs, right? And there are people who are working from last 20 years. So I think we will take the course actions wherever required. But and there is an industry phenomena around attrition. You will appreciate that many banks are coming, many fintechs are coming, many NBFCs are coming. Everybody has ambition, And once we became bank, we also hired from our competitive banks only. So I think this is how the whole circle will happen. But I think we need to be very align on our whole objective and keep working on those lines.
Got it, sir. Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek Murarka from HSBC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Sanjay and team, and congratulations for the excellent quarter. So my question really is on credit cards. The acquisition is happening nicely. You've issued about 30,000 cards this quarter. Any plans to tie up with any of the card issuance companies like Slice or Unicards or something like that to accelerate acquisition? And also, can you share how many of your 21 odd lakh customers, how many of them are eligible to get a card? I heard that you said 3 to 4 existing card customers are ETB, but how many are really eligible? Have you done some analysis, and if you can share that?
Yeah, the first one, so yes, of course, we have just launched our credit card, and our team, processes, product is just settling down, just 2 quarters. So, but the discussion is on, and so the team will take the call at the time of the requirement. But I think that to doing a partnership with some good brand or some kind of sourcing partners, or even doing the credit, it's on the card. So as and when it becomes, we'll figure out. And the second one, to be very honest, when we figured out that who is eligible, it depends on how and where we really want to give the card, at what scores and all those things. So rough back of the envelope calculation is that our 1/3 customer is eligible of credit cards because they already have a credit card, right? So that's one data which support us that we can be, our 1/3 of our customers can get our own AU card. And then another 17-18%, we can actually lend them based on our relationship with them, whether it's in branch banking relationship or a loan relationship. So overall, 50% of our customer base in next 2 to 3 years, should get a card from us.
Okay, excellent. And the incremental issuance that is happening, I know the composition might change later on as well, but currently what is it? Is it more salaried or more self-employed, or what kind of customer profile is really being given cards?
In credit card?
Yeah.
Do you have the data there?
I think broadly, if you see the issuances we had done some release shortly, basically out of 50,000, if you see 55% customers are broadly new to credit cards. So they are not new to credit, but they are using the credit card for the first time. Okay. And within that, almost 80% is existing to bank clients, 20% are new to bank clients, and about 40% would be salary. 40 or 40, just
around 60% are salaried.
60% are salaried.
Around 40% are self-employed.
Okay, you said 80% are existing to bank, but I think earlier you said 3 to 4% of the card customers are existing to bank. Did I get that wrong?
No. I don't think we mentioned that. Most of the customers in the initial phase are existing to bank because we are moving ahead with the pre-approved offers. This is the analytics that we have run.
Okay. So I guess I heard that wrong. Never mind. Thanks so much for this clarification.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Aseem Pant for closing comments.
Thanks, Rutuja. Thank you everyone for joining the call. On behalf of the entire AU team, we wish you good health and a happy Diwali. Please reach out to us in case you have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of AU Small Finance Bank, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.
Thank you so much.